Star Wars is getting pretty pathetic at this point, and it's not even just from Lucasfilm themselves. There's going to be people who sit out there and say, look, it's the fandom. The fandom is causing all of this. And I'll sit there and say, yeah, there's a lot of divisiveness within the fandom. I agree. But it's even the actors who were in these movies who are causing this divide. And it's pretty pathetic. It truly is. Now, we sit there and we saw what happened with The Acolyte. The Acolyte was a terrible show. The show was horrendous. And after it was over, after they came out and said, look, we're not renewing it for a second season, it is essentially canceled. It is not moving on. You had a huge amount of outcry and saying, it's the bigots, it's the people who are racist, it's this, it's that, crying and whining and saying this and that, because the only way that people can be or feel that they can be heard is if they twist the narrative. They can't accept that something was just bad in Star Wars. They can't accept that Star Wars can sometimes just be bad. No, they have to turn it political. They have to make it because of their agenda failed, and it's because that there are bad and evil, racist and misogynistic and, whatever it is, people out there. And that's just pathetic. Look, we know that Star Wars has been around for nearly 50 years at this point. And yes, there are homophobes, there are misogynists out there, there are people out there who are complete douchebags. Yes, they are out there. They exist. But let's really think about this for a moment, okay? How many of them do you really think are part of the Star Wars community? Let's really think about this here. And now if you really, really think about it, how many of those people do you really think have a say in how well something is received in the Star Wars community? If something fails, if something sucks, it sucks. It's not going to succeed, regardless of whether you have the 10 homophobes over here yelling and screaming about it, or if you have 50 to 60 or 100 people over here that love it screaming about it. If it's bad, it's bad. It's going to fail. But people just don't accept that. People can't accept that, and it's pretty pathetic. Well, this latest little bit of news here comes from Daisy Ridley. And look, I did not like the Rey character. The Rey character was written terribly in the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy, as a whole, is a terrible written story. Not as bad as The Acolyte, but it was a written atrocity. It was terrible. Daisy Ridley, I never really had a problem with her. She got the short end of the stick. She was shafted. I mean, come on. That entire cast was shafted with those films. But yes, she had some backlash. People were not a fan of Rey, and not just me, but a lot of people were just not fans of the Rey character, and rightfully so. It was just a poorly written character. Well, during an interview with Premiere, she was asked if she felt this violent reaction to Rey. And she said, no. I know that some people have expressed themselves negatively, but I don't pay attention to it, Ridley said, because it doesn't really concern me. I can't change the way some men see women. Let's get back to that. I can't change the way some men see women. Do you see what happens here? This actress, who, by all accounts, is going to be paid, I think, like $10 million plus for this potential Rey movie that's going to be made. Again, I don't think it's happening. But she's going to be paid well over $10 million for this movie. And she is sitting here saying men are the reason why people don't like the sequel trilogy. Men are the ones who don't like Rey. Men are evil. Men are bad. This is the type of stuff that is causing the divide within the Star Wars fandom. You see, when The Acolyte came out and it was bad, absolutely people were complaining because The Acolyte was bad. We did see that you had this woman in charge who was trying to push her own agenda. Absolutely. We know that. We saw that. But there were many of us on YouTube who looked at the story, who looked at the content and judged the content for the content. That is what we did. Now, whether the fans want to sit there and admit that and agree to that, that's their prerogative. But we sit here now in 2024, and you have Daisy Ridley coming out and saying, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it bothers me, but, I can't change how men look at women. Men. It's men. The same crap that Kathy Kennedy was saying, the same crap that Leslie Headland was saying, the same crap that Lucasfilm, Disney, and Star Wars has been saying for the last 6+ months now, if not more. They need to stop trying to make Star Wars a female brand. First of all, that's first and foremost, all right? Star Wars, first of all, yes, it's for everybody. I get that. It's for everybody. Absolutely. My mom never had a problem watching Star Wars in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. My mother, a woman, no problem. There were strong, powerful women in Star Wars. Princess Leia, Padme Amidala, eventually Ahsoka Tano. In the books, you had people like, what's her name? Mara Jade. I mean, you had strong female characters. And there are plenty others as well. But those are just the big ones. Asajj Ventress. You then take a look at what they're trying to do today, though. And they're trying to make it like, well, we need to make this a female brand. Why would why does a company buy a brand for $4 billion and simply just get away from what it's all about? Like, the thing that made it worth $4 billion, why would they simply just say, you know what? Nah, we're not going to keep pushing that way. It's worth $4 billion. Let's just not do that anymore and see if we can. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. But then to sit there and constantly push this hatred, this divisiveness within the fandom like this. It's not the fans that are causing this divide. Do you not see that? It's not the fans. It's these people. It's this. Daisy Ridley, Kathy Kennedy, Leslie Headland, all these people that are working for Lucasfilm, saying things like this. There was no reason for her to say that. She should have just stopped it as, it really doesn't concern me. Boom. Done and over with. But she specifically, I can't change the way some men see women. Pointless to say that. Completely pointless. Absurd to say that. It's absurd. We know the movie's not going to happen. And maybe that's why she's mad. Maybe because she knows at this point in time during this interview that the movie's not happening. Or maybe she knows that the whole script has to change and that's the only way it's going to happen. And they're going to have to take out all this stuff that's caused such divide within the fans. And maybe it's irking her. And maybe she's just, this is her way of lashing out. But I tell you what, there needs to be big changes at Lucasfilm. There needs to be big changes at Lucasfilm. And at this point, they need to clear house. And if Bob Iger at Disney doesn't have the balls to do it, then Bob Iger needs to go. They need to step up. They need to clear house at Lucasfilm. They need to say, look, enough is enough. There's too much crap going on there. Things that happen with the Acolyte, after the Acolyte, this crap, before the Acolyte, all this. It's done. It needs to be done. It's over with. As somebody who has loved Star Wars since the 90s, since I was not even a teenager yet, when I was a kid, this is absurd. And I know there's people out there who've been fans since 1977 who can't stand this crap. It needs to end. And it's not right. It's not right. but it's not made for just you fans anymore. You gotta get the new fans into it. Yeah, well, there's the new fans who hate this crap too. And don't talk about the Save the Acolyte crew, because they're idiots. They're complete idiots. They really are. Because they're not seeing things logically. They're listening to this divide, this divisive discussion and talk. That's what they're listening to. They're the ones causing this divide because they're listening to this crap. They're not looking at it logically and seeing that the show was a failure, seeing that the writing was atrocious, that it spent $230 million on a show that was crap. And that's the problem. Star Wars should be at the top of pop culture, but right now it's at the very bottom, and that is pathetic. A $4 billion investment by Disney, and it's at the bottom of the pop culture world. Get the hell out of here. This is pathetic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Look, Daisy, I didn't really have a problem with you, but this is pathetic. This is pathetic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.